Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. This is Rhonda. I'm here with more info today about how to create a proprietary process for yourself and your patients. Now, you're probably thinking, proprietary process, like, isn't that what they do when they you have proprietary ingredients, or you have some secret process that you kind of something or other? No. We are going to make a proprietary system or a proprietary process for you that's going to set you apart from everybody else that does what you do. So this is actually a little bit of an excerpt from content that's inside Clinical Business Academy, which if you are not on that wait list right now, you need to be, because Clinical Business Academy is where you as a wellness clinician will be able to create the systems, the processes, the marketing that suits you for your business and watch it explode. I'm telling you, it's amazing. But I'm going to share with you, this is a little excerpt of one of the pieces that I have in there about building this unique process for yourself. So I want you to think about it this way. Depending on your specialty, so I can't get too granular here because everyone has kind of a different jam that you do. Somebody might specialize in mold, and another person in female hormones, and another person in Lyme disease, or digestive disorders, maybe like Crohn's or something like that. So probably the best way to do this is for you to take a step back or zoom out to 5,000 feet and kind of look down at the way that you are currently interacting with your patients. If you think about it, there's probably a pretty standard way for an ideal patient. So again, let's just say that you're working with digestive disorders. There's probably a kind of a standard step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of thing that you do, right? Like something that you do, you kind of do it the same way. Yeah, there's a few variations to it, but in general, maybe you're going to start with upper digestion, and you're going to deal with stress, and you're going to work on the liver, and then maybe you address stealth pathogens. I don't know, I'm just making it up. Whatever feels right for you. If you're dealing with mold patients, that could be completely different. So what is that kind of step-by-step process that you do that nobody else does? I want you to kind of think about what are the foundational issues that you address with your patients every single time, right? Every time. You're not going to bring someone in who really kind of fits that perfect person that you really do love working with and do some random off-the-cuff thing. You're pretty much going to do the same things every time. Another way to think about this are, what are the issues that your ideal patients typically deal with? So I coach with lots of doctors who their primary audience are women in their 40s. Lots of people have kind of that niche, that little segment of the population. Women in their 40s, usually, got kids in middle school, high school, and they're tired and they've gained some weight and they really want to go to yoga, but they can't because they don't have time. And their marriage is maybe a little bit dicey, and so there's some anxiety or some emotional things going on. So if that was your ideal person, what are the issues that you're going to deal with them, and in what order? So you're probably going to want to address the stress situation first. And then you're going to want to maybe, provide some dietary guidance. And then you're going to want to maybe work on adrenals, and maybe you do testing. I don't know. But you want to think about, what are the things that you do with that ideal patient? You kind of do the same things every time. Another way to think about it is, if you were going to draw a roadmap and you were going to say, okay, our first milestone, you know how on the freeway you see mile marker 1, mile marker 2, mile marker 3. Think about it like that. What is the milestone? At what point is your patient going to say, yes, we did it? In other words, you start out by saying, we're going to get your anxiety under control or your sleep under control. What needs to happen between when you say those words and when the patient can say, yes, did it? What are the steps that are involved in that process? That's kind of what I'm talking about. So what are the things that you're doing and that you could maybe distill into a 3-step or a 5-step process? It's like your secret sauce, right? It's like your secret thing that you don't tell anybody else, but you just know that you're going to get results, and the patient is going to go, yes, please. Because when you give a plan to a patient, for instance, you say, all right, we're going to work together for the next 6 months. Now, I think this is very fair when you communicate this way to patients, rather than saying, okay, I'll see you in 4 weeks, or see you in 2 weeks, or, I'm going to check your supplements, or we're going to do, the patient's like blindly going along and they don't have a plan. They feel so much better when there's a plan. So this is what I'm saying. Your kind of this proprietary process or your unique methodology for how you get results with your patients, you're going to lay this out for them. You don't give them all the details, but you're going to lay it out and say, mile marker number 1 is blank. First, we're going to start working on this, and then we're going to have this outcome. Then our next step 2 is we're going to work on this, and then here is the outcome. In other words, here's how we'll know that we hit that next mile marker. And then the third step is going to be this, and at the outcome, you're going to have this. Now, you could have each of those steps be 2 months long, you know, if you have a 6-month process. I'm telling you, it makes the patient feel so much safer working with you because they know they have an end point. Now, what happens if they get to the end of 6 months and maybe they're 80% better or 70% better? Well, then you just have another conversation with them and say, hey, listen, you're doing so well. Looks like we're going to need another 3 or 4 months. Here's what I'm thinking. Lay out the plan again. It's kind of a modified plan to kind of finish them off. And they feel so much better in it. They know that you're being honest with them. But what we want is for them to say, yes, that feels good to me. It feels safe to me. And more importantly, when you can articulate your process, it really lends a huge amount of credibility to you and what you do. It makes you look like you know your stuff, which you do, of course, and it prevents them from going online and trying to find out what Dr. Google says about their problem, because you know how that goes, right? They're off buying all these supplements and they don't have a clue, and there's no rhyme, no reason. They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something sticks. So your process might look something like, you know, first you're going to deal with diet and digestion. Get that on board because they're having some bloating and reflux. Okay, fine. Then maybe milestone 2 is glucose regulation, and maybe diet, digestion, and glucose kind of all roll into one. Then you're going to deal with stress, and then maybe you do detoxification. Do you see what I'm saying? You just want to think about what are the puzzle pieces? How can you put those puzzle pieces together? And I use the word proprietary, but it's like you can call it whatever you want. Your secret sauce, your unique way of doing things. It's what you're already doing. You just haven't stopped long enough to zoom out and kind of look at it and go, oh, I do kind of do it the same way every single time. For, you know, as a general rule, we all kind of have the way that we want to do it. You're then allowing their brain to settle by providing them that information. They're not wondering like, well, how long is this going to take? Huge question. You also get clear about how much it's going to cost. I would highly recommend that you put a big price tag on that. Provide value, like I can help you with that inside Clinical Business Academy, but you're going to put a price tag on that process that you have all lined out for them. You're going to put a price tag on that, and you've got some extra little bells and whistles and things that you've added into your program. By doing that, the patient can sit back and go, oh, okay. And they go back to their spouse and they say, listen, this is going to take 6 months. This is what, you know, Dr. John is recommending, and I think this is a good plan for me. And he's got this 5-step process, and this is what it looks like because you have it written out. And the patient just is like, they feel more confident about their yes, right? And you, here's the thing. Okay, listen, if you're doing something else, you're multitasking, don't multitask right now. Come back to me, come back, listen to the voice, come back. Here's what's happening. I don't know about you, but I have seen this happen more often lately than I've ever seen before. And that is, patients are coming in and I call it they're getting their hit. In other words, they'll come in as a new patient, they'll pay the extra money for the new patient appointment, because it's higher, and they'll come in and they'll work with me a couple times, or I can't tell you how many practitioners that I've worked with that have told me this exact same scenario, and everybody's frustrated by it. But they come in and they'll work with you just long enough to get the pain gone. And then they stop returning your phone calls, they don't reschedule, they're off. And now they're back to Dr. Google or doing whatever. When you can articulate this proprietary process, your system, your unique way of doing what you do, and you enroll them in the idea that it is a process. It's not just you're going to come in, I'm going to pump air in your tire, and then off you go because you didn't fix the problem. You're going to be down the road and you're going to flat tire again. And you're going to hop into somebody else, or you're going to come back to me and say, oh, well, I went over to such and such and they told me that I needed $5,000 worth of tests. So will you interpret them for me? I just had this conversation with another practitioner just this last week. And the patient came back and the practitioner said, I'm not recommending those tests, and here's why I'm not recommending those tests. This is what we need to do first, i.e. this is her process, right? She knows her stuff. And she said, this is what we're going to do first. Patient was like, no, I don't want that. I'm out. And went out, got the tests, and then came back to this practitioner and said, could you read them for me? What would you do? What would you do? It's because the patient didn't have the parameters, right? This isn't the practitioner's fault. It's just an opportunity to learn how to do something different in your business. So when we set the parameters, like, in other words, it's like, here's how it works to work with me. Does that feel scary to you? Because it shouldn't. It should not. Listen, you're circus, you're monkeys. You've heard this before, right? You get to say, it's your call, it's your business, it's your knowledge. They're coming to you, friend. They're coming to you for information. Listen, and if they don't want it, there's always Dr. Google. Or there's somebody else down the street that's not going to do a good job. And when the other person doesn't do a good job, guess where they're going to come? Back to you, because you had the integrity, being able to tell the truth, and you laid out a plan for them. They can take it or leave it. We don't want to be so desperate that we'll just take anybody and we'll just start with them because I need the cash. And so I'll just go ahead and start with the person. But then what I'm seeing more of now than ever before is that people are jumping. And they're getting the air in the tire, and then that's it. And then they're out. They're like, yep, I'm gone. I don't want to do this anymore. So as you kind of unravel, we're peeling the layers of the onion. It's just kind of like we just uncover one and then we uncover the next one. It's like those Russian nesting dolls, We have the big thing that we come in for, and then we kind of fix that, and then there's another one inside, and then there's another one and another one. And that's sort of how it works. But you are the one that has the knowledge. You've spent all this time learning. You know what you need to do, and you've got a passion about helping a certain population or a certain type of condition. So what you want to do is you just want to reframe the way that you think about that, put it in a kind of more of a, I guess like a systematic way. Step 1 is, step 2 is, step 3 is, and there's always variations. I'm not trying to put you in a box at all, but there's always going to be some little tweak that you need to do. But I really want you to think about the value of what you provide, what you're providing for your patients, for the people that come to you. Listen, friend, you are transforming their life. You're giving them their life back. They go to their medical doctor who is, it's not bad. Like, I'm not dissing on the MDs at all. It's just not how they're trained. And they're kind of told that they shouldn't believe or listen to people like us as a general rule. And so we're just kind of ancillary support. But when you can provide that support for that patient who's not getting answers anywhere else, and you do it within a framework in your business, see, this is the business. This is why the business side is so important. Because otherwise you're just doing this fee for service, and they drop off. They get their tire pumped up, they get air in their tire, and out they go. They're just coming in for their hit. They're like drug addicts, health addicts, I guess. I don't know. We don't want to do that. So when you can create almost that system, that proprietary package, proprietary program, 5-step process to X, or solve your blank through blank, 5 steps to blank. You see, you're creating a marketing, it sounds like a marketing thing. You're creating this thing that people go, oh yeah, I do. Solve your bloating with a 3-step process to resolve your bloating and allow you to eat the food that you love to eat without worry of, pain. That was off the cuff, but you get my point. Somebody who's got bloating, they're going to be like, oh, I need that 3-step process. I need that right now. Where do I call? Versus, I'll help you with your digestion. I'll help you with your bloating. Do you hear the difference? And I know I'm kind of talking off the cuff, but you understand what I'm saying. a general conversation like, yes, hello, I'm here, I can help you with your bloating, versus a 3-step process to help you beat the bloat and live your life without fear of eating foods that are going to make you miserable and uncomfortable. Something like that. The second one resonates so much more with the patient. And when you put it inside some kind of a framework that you're the one that does it, this is the business piece, right? The clinical piece, your clinical hat, your clinician hat, you know how to do the do. What I'm suggesting is you put on your business hat, your like CEO hat, and go, okay, how do we take what the clinician does? I know we're talking about the same person, but how do we take what the clinician side does and package it, so to speak, in a process that will help the patients feel safe, allow them to say yes more often, and keep them from bouncing out because they only want to come in and get their tire filled. Does that make sense? So that's what I want you to think about. Again, this is just a small excerpt of what I have for you inside Clinical Business Academy. So listen, I do not pull punches. I'm not going to ever tell you something that's not true. I am not a slimy marketer. I am not a slimy clinician. I will admit when there's something going on that shouldn't be. I'm all open book for you. And I'm telling you, when you went to school and you decided that you wanted to become a practitioner, I would bet that part of that decision was because you wanted to have a flexible schedule and you wanted to serve people. But whether you want to talk about it or not, we also are thinking about the income that we're going to be able to make. And my experience in working with practitioners over the last 20 years is that practitioners often feel bad about the money piece. We don't want to charge too much. We don't want to blah, blah, blah. But you are still, at the end of the day, running a business. And your business has to be profitable because you deserve to get paid for what you do. You are changing people's lives. And that's what I'm going to help you do inside Clinical Business Academy, is I'm going to help you create a business that's actually profitable so that when you spend $100 on something, it's not like, oh, I got to choose to spend $100 on this thing or $100 on this thing. That's not that. All that means is that you do not have a successful business. It's not profitable. It's not running the way that it needs to run. And that's what I want to help you do. So all you got to do is go to rondanelson.com/CBA, stands for Clinical Business Academy. Go get on the wait list. We will get you enrolled. Open enrollment's coming in a very short amount of time. We're putting the last finishing touches on some things. But we literally have taken what used to be called Business Coaching Collaborative. So those of you that are listening that were in BCC before, this is the BCC on steroids times 1,000. We've literally completely demoed the whole thing, rebuilt it with all the content that I know you're going to need. And this proprietary process is part of what's in there. So I would love to have you join me. I get passionate about this because I know the difference it's going to make in your life and your business. You want to make that income. You want to take care of your family. You want to take care of your children. It is not fair that you're changing people's lives and you're not making any money and you're not successful and your business is like a leg chain. Like we're working 60 hours a week and we're not making any money. No, not on my watch. We're not doing that. And it is so easy to do and do it ethically and with integrity. That's a core value for me. I hope it's a core value for you. If it is, then you and I, we need to work together. So go to rondanelson.com/CBA, get on that wait list, and when enrollment opens, we will let you know. All right, friend, take care. Thanks for hanging out with me on the podcast. I hope this was super helpful for you. And if you'd like to, I would love it. You just rate, review, and of course, subscribe so that you don't miss anything. But thanks for your feedback. I love that you're here. I'll see you next week on the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast.